You're the idiot, Buster!
Minorikawa smacked Yanagishita right across the face.
Ouch!
Hitting him felt good. He decided to do it again. He drew back his arm to deliver another blow. But then, someone else came into the shop. Yanagishita's eyes lit up as they saw who it was.
Oh, my angel! Whatever's my darling Miku doing here?
Miku stood in the doorway, on the verge of tears.
Mr. Minorikawa.
She began, then her voice choked up.
Miku? Oh. Wait. Yeah, I guess it is you. Emilio, sorry.
Miku? What's the matter? Is something wrong?
Miku drew in close to Minorikawa's side.
Huh? Huh?
Yanagishita's gaze darted back and forth between Minorikawa and Miku.
You two know each other?
Sort of. More to the point. Is she the girl you said you're in love? Wait. Is this my line?
Is she the girl you said you're in love with?
That's right. The one and only Miku. I have her entrance music set as my ringtone.
Paying no heed to Yanagishita's excitement, Miku kept her eyes fixed on Minorikawa.
I lost to a girl who knows Aiki Jujutsu. I lost.
She buried her face in Minorikawa's chest.
Wait, is this still me? Oh.
No. Yanagishita let out a gasp.
It's about. What is this all about?
He seemed on the verge of panic.
Miku?
Mr. Minorikawa! I need to learn Aiki Jujutsu! I feel so ashamed!
She buried her face even deeper into Minorikawa's chest.
That's so unfair!
With tears in his eyes, Yanagishita darted out the door. Minorikawa glared after the pathetic fellow as he scampered off.
Guy sure knows how to take advantage of bad situation. I give him that.
He murmured.
Can't let him get away. I'm gonna catch him and hand him over to police. I can't let him get away! I'm gonna catch him and hand him over to police. Obviously he's broken the law and that's not okay. But going against my rules, that's really crossing the line.
Minorikawa snatched a heavy kettle from the table as he raced out of the shop.
Nobody runs away from me without my say-so.
As he sprinted after Yanagishita, he hurled his makeshift weapon. The kettle flew straight and true, striking Yanagishita in the face. With a dull croak, he dropped to the ground, unconscious. Smiling with grim satisfaction, Minorikawa tied up Yanagishita with some rope the shopkeeper provided, then put him in the back of the shop for the police to collect. He explained the situation to the shopkeeper, who flashed a sympathetic smile.
Yes.
Ah, is that so? Lucky for you, you screwed up then. But I'm happy to do business. I just can't buy a computer that doesn't come with its accessories.
So you would have brought it from him, he had accessories?
Of course. Stolen or not, it's all the same once I've sold it.
The shopkeeper chuckled unapologetically.
I suppose that's true.
Minorikawa laughed along with him.
Yeah, all the same. Like hell it is!
He roared. Shopkeeper froze like a startled rabbit.
But everything you have for sale here has been stolen, hasn't it?
Don't be ridiculous.
I warned you up front. There's no use hiding things from me. I've interviewed you. After all, I know you.
Huh?
The shopkeeper was getting more and more flustered.
Well, I mean... Look, this is just between you and me, okay? Sometimes I go around gathering stuff that people have lost and I sell it here. But it's not stolen, just repurposed. There's nothing wrong with that, right?
The shopkeeper smiled ingratiatingly.
You moron!
Minorikawa stuck his finger in the man's face.
Selling lost property is a serious crime, too.
It is? Well, I mean, I guess I sort of figured it might be sometimes.
Well, I'm not the police. I'm more into curiosity than legality. In fact, I find this all pretty fascinating. I mean, what sort of things have you gathered for sale?
Well, let me see. Like this and that and that and that.
The man pointed to various items on his shelves.
And also this and that and that and that and that, I guess?
Minorikawa's eyes were directed all over the shop. Everything the shopkeeper had pointed out had a hefty price tag.
You're actually able to sell things like this?
Minorikawa asked.
Sure, I could sell stuff. Earlier today, someone bought a big necklace. I listed it for 40,000 yen, but I discounted it down to 30,000 yen.
You can still make a profit even after offering discounts?
Sure. I mean, it's just something I found lying on the ground after all.
Minorikawa looked back at him, and for a moment he laughed as well. Then his face turned hard.
This is no laughing matter!
he bellowed.
You need to stop what you're doing here right now. Otherwise, you're gonna find out what it's like to get punished by my pen of justice.
I'm so sorry!
The shopkeeper bowed repeatedly. Minorikawa glared. The truth was that right now he was so busy he'd have to let this guy slide. Still, this whole asinine affair had eaten up a big chunk of time he didn't have to waste. He was going to have to finish up his copy back at the editing office. Laptop in hand, he left the shop, only to stop short when a slight figure stepped out in front of him.
Mr. Minorikawa!
Miku stood there, barring his path.
Please, introduce me to a dojo where I can learn Aiki Jujutsu.
I'm sorry. I really don't have time for this right now.
Minorikawa tried to hurry onward, but she stubbornly refused to let him pass.
You introduced me to that other dojo before, remember?
I suppose so, now that you mention it.
He tried to slip by her on her right-hand side, but she was quick to block him.
You're the one who introduced me to the world of martial arts, Mr. Minorikawa.
Well, yes. You know, you put me in a bit of a blind here.
Trying to slip by on her left was a no-go too. She could anticipate his every move.
Please, just hear me out.
Miku said. She was speaking through quiet sobs now.
I can't stand to leave things like this.
She looked Minorikawa right in the eye.
This is a good opportunity for you. Find something to do with yourself that is martial arts.
What?
You're the champion at that one pub, right? And now that you're done with that, you should find a more girlish line of work instead.
Miku began to tremble.
You jerk!
Miku delivered a blindingly fast slap to Minorikawa's cheek.
Why did you have to put it like that? You're so mean!
Bursting into tears, Miku ran off.
Hey! Miku!
She gave no sign she'd heard him, and didn't turn around. Minorikawa rubbed his cheek. It stung. For once, he actually regretted what he'd said. Maybe he shouldn't have assumed she'd be willing to just give up her hobby. He did, in fact, know of several Aiki Jujutsu dojos. If only he had the time, he could have introduced her easily enough. Checking his watch, he saw that he only had 30 minutes and change until 4 o'clock. There was no more wiggle room at this point. These articles needed to get written, and fast. He needed to get back to the editing department. And yet...
Oh, damn it all to hell. I can't get work done like this.
Minorikawa broke into a run. But he didn't run for Heaven Publishing. Instead, he went after Miku.
Keep going, Frank.
Suddenly a boom as loud as cannon fire shook the area.
Something's wrong.
Kano thought.
That's not ordinary city noise.
A column of black smoke rose up from between two nearby buildings. Passerby stopped and stared, gasping in alarm. Then Kano saw the flames. This hadn't been an accident. Someone had set off an explosion. Several people were on the ground nearby, evidently injured by the detonation.
Mr. Minorikawa! Mr. Minorikawa! Oh.
A high school-aged girl was crying, clinging tightly to a man who'd been caught in the blast. Kano recognized her as the girl he'd talked to earlier during the traffic jam. The man looked like he might still be alive. Kano hurried over to him.
Police!
He announced. Blood was streaming from the man's mouth. He clearly suffered some internal damage.
Hang in there, buddy.
Kano told him.
Stay with us.
The man's face twisted up in pain, but somehow he managed to croak out a few words. Kano let out a gasp. The man's voice was almost too weak to hear, but what he said still shook Kano to the core. This man knew something important. Something crucial to the investigation. Rescue vehicles arrived on the scene, and the wounded man was promptly loaded onto a stretcher. When he was placed inside the ambulance, Kano flashed his badge at paramedics and got in alongside him. The man had already fallen unconscious. Kano didn't know when he'd wake up, but he knew he needed to hear what the guy had to say. He sensed that this stranger was the key to unlocking the entire case. But though Kano kept a lonely vigil, the man never woke again. The antiviral that had been given to Hitomi. The blue minivan Al-Karawan told Hitomi to look for. And now, the minivan exploding. Kano was sure this man had known how all of these tied together. By now, the key to solving the case was gone for good.
Emilio, go ahead.
Tama? Tama!
I am none of the above. None of those fit me at all. I turn at the sound of an exuberant voice and see Mr. Yanagishita running my way, flailing his arm in a friendly greeting. I swear, this guy could wind up banished to the pits of hell and he'd still give his all day in and day out.
Oh, thank goodness! It is you! Tama! I knew it!
The man with the cane grumbles something incoherent, then holsters his gun and flees the scene.
Huh? Now you're with some middle-aged guy?
That's the other guy.
What was that?
Wasn't it with the other guy, or... Oh, never mind, sorry.
Now you're with some middle-aged guy? You look so sweet and innocent. I guess you kinda get around, huh?
Boss! Nice timing. I do a little fist pump. Whatever he's doing here, I'm glad he drove off that guy with the gun.
Hmm? What are you so happy about?
Yanagishita gives me a puzzled look. But he's promptly distracted by his own excitement.
Well, anyway, never mind that, Tama.
He shifts down to a conspiratorial whisper.
You know, I'm such an idiot. I can't believe I was in such a tizzy over some silly scratch cards from a magazine.
I can tell he has news he's itching to tell me. Did something happen?
Well...
He brings a hand to his mouth and giggles unsettlingly.
I had a great little idea. A great way to strike it rich.
I feel like I've heard this from you before. Mr. Yanagishita shakes his head fervently.
This time it's different. We're talking way more digits than before. Now, try not to be too surprised, yeah?
Spittle flies from his mouth as he rattles on. Ugh.
Or, it's okay to be surprised, actually. In fact, I'm guessing you're definitely going to be amazed this time, Tama.
I can practically see the banknotes dancing in his eyes. Cut to the chase already! What is it you want to tell me?
This time, get this, I got a line on 10 million yen.
He thrusts his index finger skyward, grinning ear to ear.
Surprised now? Yeah, you are. And it doesn't require any capital. It's no risk, high return.
There's a crazy gleam in his eye. Oh man. Nope.
Oh man, I'm finally gonna get to be part of the Billionaires Club.
That is so ridiculous, I don't even have a snappy retort for it. Never mind that 10 million yen obviously wouldn't make him a billionaire.
By the way, you haven't seen Chiri, have you? We're gonna need her help to wrap up this 10 million yen.
Cheery? No, I haven't run into her since the sales demo.
Alright. Well, if you do happen to see her, tell her to get in touch with me.
Sure, alright. I still don't know what he's going on about, but there's probably no harm in being helpful.
Thank you, Tama. Guess I may as well give you a little hint.
A hint?
Yeah, a hint. Wanna hear?
Sure. Sure. Thank you.
Well, then. I guess I've got no choice. When you put it that way, I just have to tell you.
Mr. Yanagishita clears his throat and proceeds to declaim in an affected tone.
When the mighty stomach triumphs over the endless cavalcade of icebergs, the hero shall be blessed with fame and fortune.
Huh? What the heck is that supposed to mean? He looks inordinately amused at my confusion.
It's part of a legend. You only need to remember that one verse for now. You're going to bear witness to history.
I feel like this guy's right out of some kind of story himself.
Anyway, thanks for helping me out with the cheery thing. Adios!
And then, like a whirlwind, Mr. Yanagishita zooms away, leaving me alone in the alley. Phew. Suddenly I feel totally exhausted. I let out a sigh and drop my eyes, and that's when I notice a notebook on the ground at my feet. Did the assassin drop this? I pick it up and look inside. There's a photograph tucked inside the back cover. It shows 3 young people, 2 boys and a girl. Well, what do I do now? Do I go to the police? How would I even explain the situation? I can see it now. There's this killer out there, and he's after this person named Hitomi Osawa, and then the police would be like, who is that? And who exactly is after her? And then what would I say? Heck, they might not even give me the time of day in the first place. Not only do I not have any idea who Hitomi Osawa is, I know nothing about the guy who was after her except that he walks with a cane. I mean, I can't even tell them who I am. They'd probably shoo me away without a second thought. What am I supposed to do? I hang my head, at a total loss. The necklace around my neck sways idly to and fro.
start from here. Go ahead. CJ.
Ah, it's my sister.
Hitomi brimmed with excitement.
Emilio, you play Achi's night.
For real?
I think so.
What's she doing in a place like that? And why's she talking to that guy?
I'm not sure.
The monitor showed a cheerful little scene.
Looks like they're having fun.
Achi.
Looks like they're having fun. Guess since they're twins, they're both into older guys.
Achi felt his mood start to sour.
I have to ask, are you sure she was kidnapped?
Yes. At least. I sure thought so. So did the police.
Then what's this all about?
Should we go and see for ourselves?
So. Oh, what about that email?
Achi pointed at Hitomi's cell phone.
Shouldn't you take a look at that?
My sister comes first. That place where she is it far from here?
No, not particularly.
Achi and Hitomi rushed from the building, heading for the alley where Maria was talking to the computer thief.
Maria.
Sorry, muted. Suddenly, I hear someone call out, Maria! Huh? I spin around to see a young girl running toward me. She kind of looks like me. Behind her are two men. One of them is the man with the cane. He raises his gun and aims it at her. Oh no, he's going to shoot her! The instant I realize what he's doing, I'm lunging towards him. He shifts his grip on the gun and clubs me in the head. I stagger against the wall, trying to keep my feet, but my legs buckle under me, and I crumple on the spot. I don't even know why I tried to protect this girl. My body just moved on its own. Maybe it was just a reflexive impulse to help someone in danger. But am I the sort of person who'd risk her life to protect some complete stranger? And now I am dead.
Go ahead, Frank.
Running along Koendori in pursuit of Miku, Minorikawa heard a cell phone ringtone coming from somewhere nearby. Only a massive, fiery blast knocked him from his feet. A deafening roar set his head throbbing.
What was that? What's going on?
He lay in a daze on the ground, trying to wrap his mind around what had just happened. He smelled the foul scent of burning rubber. Then came a sound of quick footsteps rushing up to him.
Mr. Norikawa!
A voice called out to him as if across an impossible distance.
Mr. Norikawa!
Was that Miku? He forced his eyes open and saw Miku looking anxiously down at him.
Mr. Norikawa!
Miku. Those things I said earlier. I'm sorry. I went too far.
What are you talking about? That's not important right now!
Miku choked back a gasp, and Minorikawa realized he had blood leaking from his mouth. His body wouldn't move, and his mind was reeling.
But what happened? Tell me. Oh.
Miku's voice was dry and hoarse.
There's a minivan. It exploded.
Exploded? A minivan exploded on a city street. It sounded like a terrorist act. His reeling mind drifted back to the attempted bioterrorist attack on Kasunike Seki 2 years earlier. An unoccupied minivan had exploded outside an MPD station. A device meant to scatter a dangerous biological agent had been discovered near the subway. With sudden clarity, Minorikawa recalled what Osawa had said earlier.
Sora.
The power balance of the entire world might be at stake here. There'd be some sort of connection between Osawa's warning and this explosion. There was. There had to be. Minorikawa's journalistic intuition told him it must be true. Something terrible was underway here in Shibuya.
Police!
A man in a suit announced. He crouched beside Minorikawa and gently lifted his head and torso.
Hang in there, buddy. Stay with us.
The change of position allowed Minorikawa to clear his airway. He sucked in a deep breath. But as he did, an intense pain shot through his lungs.
I think I might be done for.
Whatever his intuition might be telling him, it didn't look like he'd be able to write it about it. But if he couldn't get his words onto the page, the least he could do was tell someone else. With his last act, maybe he could still accomplish something. He strained to get a few words out.
Osawa, Kenji, Osawa, the power balance of the entire world.
As his voice failed, he heard the sound of ambulance sirens approaching. Paramedics began frantically unloading stretchers. Turning his head, he saw a number of other people who'd been injured in the explosion laid out on the roadside. Amongst them were a woman and a child. Emergency workers bearing a stretcher came over to Minorikawa.
Forget about me. I'm beyond helping. See the others instead.
Minorikawa shouted inwardly, but no one heard.
Phew. Suddenly I feel totally exhausted. I let out a sigh and... We did all this. Let's go. Eventually, I muster up the energy to start walking around town, heading nowhere in particular. The billboard outside of a department store displays a poster of some female musician. She must be pretty popular because lots of passersby stop to take a good look. Am I just imagining things? I feel like I saw the same poster somewhere very recently. Standing underneath the sign is a woman talking on her cell phone. It sounds like she's having an argument with whoever's on the line. I don't want to be nosy, so I just pass on by. As I come out onto Koendori, I gradually come to a halt. I'm a little tired from all this aimless wandering around. I let my gaze stray along the street as I consider my next move. Then I catch sight of a blue minivan parked across the street. Oh! Suddenly my heart starts pounding. I know this. I know this minivan. If I head over to it, I'm sure I'll remember something. As if pulled by some huge magnet, I make my way toward the vehicle. There's a sudden, thunderous boom. I'm knocked flat by a blast of energy, and the world goes all topsy-turvy. As I lie in shock, a wave of unfamiliar images fills my mind. A cloud of whirling dust. In some place that isn't Japan. A simple room with unfamiliar architecture. A girl. And I know the girl's name! Her name is... On the verge of that revelation, my consciousness fades away. I'm dead.
Hey, you guys, get back! There could be another bomb! Go ahead, Frank.
Minorikawa looked around as he pushed back the crowd. He was getting a strong whiff of a scoop. He needed to write his copy ASAP, but he couldn't just turn his back on the situation now. Two young men were strolling toward the burning vehicle, and they had the look of juvenile delinquents.
Panda.
Whoa, what the heck? Is this for real?
Emilio.
Ain't this dangerous? Like for serious?
The pair tried to find an optimal vantage point.
Hey,
Minorikawa snapped.
don't get any closer!
He spread his arms wide to hold them back. The young men came to a halt, but otherwise paid him no heed.
Oh, this is bad. This is for real bad. Oh, just want to kiss. Emilio.
This is bad. This is for real bad.
Panda.
Think this is a terrorist thing?
Yo, get out your phone. Come on.
But like, you think this is a terrorist thing?
Dude, shut up. Just hurry up and call Susumu.
The taller of the two, dressed in red, was ordering around his blue-clad companion.
Huh?
The boy in blue huffed.
Man, do it yourself.
Say what?
Bitch, this ain't no time for you to get all worked up.
Minorikawa stood there, arms still held wide, getting more and more annoyed at their back and forth.
Yo, just make the call, man.
The young fellow in red scowled. He wasn't going to back down.
Huh? Yo, what difference does it make if I do it or you do it? It doesn't matter. It doesn't make any difference, so it doesn't matter if you did it.
Right, it don't matter. So in that case, you do it.
Look, I'm telling you to just make the damn call.
And I'm telling you, no.
Oh, enough of this already!
Minorikawa opened his mouth to tell them off. But then the young man in red spoke again.
Dude, the goods from over at Endo Electronics are gone. You gotta let Susumu know.
The name Endo Electronics caught Minorikawa's attention.
Huh? Yeah, but ain't that all that Achi dude's fault for getting all huffy at us? I mean, there's Kiryu told us to go find the Endo storehouse.
Yeah, but Susumu don't like dealing in stolen goods. Says it dirties the SOS name.
Well, what a coincidence. Looked like these two were SOS members.
Hey,
Minorikawa called out.
you two.
He finally succeeded in getting their attention.
Where's this Susumu fellow? I could talk to him.
He had no idea who Susumu was, having only heard the name just now. Still, from the way these two were talking, it seemed clear he held some position of leadership.
You think I'd tell you if I knew?
The fellow in red snarled. Minorikawa kept his composure.
Listen, you guys know the Tenryu Gumi?
The Tenryu Gumi was a Yakuza syndicate that operated in Shibuya. These street kids were sure to be familiar with the name, if nothing else.
Emilio, I think?
I think so.
No, I thought it was you.
That was me?
I think. No, I think it's Emilio.
I thought he's trying to intimidate us.
Wait.
I'll just go for it. I mean, look it, but I'm pretty tired with Tenryu Gumi. I mean, you two don't know, but Suzumi's been showing up at the office a lot lately.
Susumu's been dealing with the Yakuza?
Whoa, for real? Sweet!
The two punks bought it completely.
What's SOS using us to hang out these days? Feel there's something to discuss with Suzumi.
Right now it's the bar called Inferno.
Minorikawa made a mental note of the name.
Right. And if I was where exactly?
Two young men suddenly looked distinctly uncomfortable.
Later.
Yeah, I got a thing I gotta do too.
Backing away, they took off into the crowd.
Hey, wait up! I need to know where Inferno is!
But the pair had already vanished. Ambulances began arriving at the scene and paramedics rushed out to tend the wounded.
Excuse me. Would you mind answering a few questions?
Minorikawa turned to see a man in a suit approach him, flashing his badge. Several people were on the ground nearby, evidently injured by the explosion. A girl in a hoodie was crouched among them, doing her best to tend their injuries. Hano recognized her as the girl he talked to earlier during the traffic jam.
Police!
He announced.
Get back. Let me handle this.
The girl was visibly relieved.
Help her.
She said. She pointed to a figure lying on the sidewalk, a short distance from the burning minivan. It was a Middle Eastern girl. She appeared to be unconscious.
I think she got hurt rescuing another girl. About college age.
The girl in the hoodie said. A college-aged girl? That might be Hitomi,
What happened to the girl she saved?
Kano asked. The Good Samaritan looked around.
Huh? Where'd she go?
The rescuee had disappeared.
This girl here.
The girl in the hoodie gestured toward the fallen girl.
I can't believe how fast she was.
She spoke with a hint of awe.
The way she moved to get to that other girl. She was on a level way beyond mine.
Kano took another look at the injured girl. Her figure looked rather delicate. It was hard to believe she was capable of great feats of athleticism. He started toward her, but Stanley stepped ahead of him.
Leave this one to me.
He said. His expression was unusually stern, even for him.
Do you know her?
Kano asked. The American didn't answer as he checked the girl's pulse and then her pupils.
Hey, Stanley.
Don't you have other things you should be doing?
Stanley snapped.
Fine then.
Kano decided to collect some eyewitness accounts. Patrol cars and ambulances arrived at the scene in a steady stream. Once the vehicle fire was under control, things gradually began to calm down. Several officers worked to cover the area around the burned minivan with a blue tarp. Kano got the questioning underway, starting by flashing his badge at a man near the front of the crowd.
Excuse me? Would you mind answering a few questions?
The man puffed himself up.
Emilio.
How about you answer a few questions for me? Was this an accident or an attack?
Isn't that Minoru Kawa?
But, wait, I guess you're right.
That's Minoru Kawa, yeah.
Would you answer a few questions for me? Was this an accident or attack? We still don't know any details.
Kano admitted. The man shoved his finger in Kano's face.
Let me rephrase that for you. This is a major incident. Huh? I've been around the blocks a few times, know all your police PR lingo. When you start talking about the details, it's 100% indicative of a major incident. I sure picked the wrong guy to try and talk to.
Stifling his frustration, Kano continued his questioning.
Do you happen to notice anything unusual prior to the explosion? Unusual? Wait, unusual? Now that you mention it, I think I heard a cell phone ringtone. Ringtone? No, never mind. Forget that. No ringtones on someone's phone would be audible through all that.
The man was probably right, but somehow the idea nagged at Kano. He jotted down a note in his pad.
Kano. Oh.
Kawa.
It was Stanley. Perfect timing.
Thank you for your cooperation.
Kano told the man. Then he hurried on his way. Stanley stepped in close enough to whisper.
was that guy?
I witnessed the explosion, apparently.
Did he have any info?
He said he heard a cell phone ringtone at the time explosion. Sure that's significant, though.
Stanley stood silently for a moment, thinking.
What about that girl?
Kano asked.
She woken up?
No. I'm going to drive her to the hospital.
Huh? Why do that yourself?
Look around.
Stanley said. He cast his eyes out over the scene. There were still many injured people lying on the roadside. It seemed the authorities hadn't sent enough ambulances.
Isn't your car back in Mario Machado?
Kano asked.
Under the circumstances, I think it makes sense for me to go back for it.
Stanley replied coolly.
Besides, I have a few things I'd like to ask her.
Kano was curious.
You do?
He asked. Stanley's cell rang.
Yes?
Stanley answered the phone in English. As he listened, his demeanor changed. The blood drained from his face, and his hand began to tremble slightly as he gripped the phone. Kano had never seen him this shaken up.
You got it.
Stanley said at last. He hung up the phone and let out a sigh.
What is it?
Kano asked. Stanley headed into an alley without responding. Kano hurried after him. Once they were out of earshot of the crowd, Stanley finally spoke.
A call right now is from Gordon, my superior.
He broke off there and for a long while was silent. He appeared to be struggling with some strong emotion. Kano was getting impatient.
What is it? You're gonna tell me something, then just tell me.
Alright.
Stanley said at last.
I can trust you with this.
Well, never thought I'd hear you say you trust me.
Kano teased. But Stanley's expression remained dead serious.
You were contacted on our end by the mastermind of this plot.
Those international criminals you mentioned?
Correct. Roughly 8 hours ago, they injected Maria Osawa with the UA virus. Then, they let her loose somewhere in Shibuya.
Hold on. By UA, you mean...
Kano thought back to his earlier conversation with Stanley. These criminals were trying to get their hands on a new drug. An antiviral drug developed by Kenji Osawa that had been shown to be effective against the UA virus. Stanley hesitated before continuing.
This is a killer virus with a 100% mortality rate once it takes hold. Osawa's antiviral is our only means of combating it.
Mortality rate of 100%?
It has an incubation period of 12 hours.
In another 4 hours, Maria Osawa will go symptomatic. After that, she'll begin spreading the virus through the city.
Wait, that was Stanley.
In another 4 hours, Maria Osawa will go symptomatic. After that, she'll begin spreading the virus throughout the city.
Is capable of airborne transmission?
Stanley nodded.
If you don't administer Kenji Osawa's antiviral before she develops symptoms,
Yes?
Kano's voice was trembling now. Stanley spoke with complete certainty.
everyone in Shibuya is going to die.
Well, then we need to find Maria Osawa and get the antiviral to her as soon as possible.
Kano said, panicking. Stanley remained cool.
Let's calm down. There's more to the story than
Stanley was interrupted by a strange sound from the upper floors of a nearby building. Unsure of what it was, the two men hurriedly relocated. They paused when they came to a vacant lot. The place was deserted. No need to worry about being overheard here,
You said there's more to the story?
Kano prompted.
the antiviral in question is stored in Kenji Osawa's laboratory. The lab is protected by a sophisticated security system, and apparently, the storage area where the drug is kept requires fingerprint authentication from both Osawa and Tanaka.
What? But Tanaka's...
Kano couldn't help but gasp. Tanaka was currently a fugitive, the prime suspect in the kidnapping case. There was no chance of getting any fingerprint authorization from him at this stage.
Is there any other way to get in?
Kano asked.
The door can also be unlocked via a password in place of the fingerprint scanner. But we still need to know what Tanaka chose for his password.
No.
In any event,
Stanley said.
it's essential that we track down and secure Maria. But
He went on, his voice grave.
even if we get Maria to safety, the mastermind is now in possession of the UA virus. If they want to, they can unleash a bioterrorist attack on Shibuya at any time. To put it bluntly, the lives of every man, woman, and child in the city are in their hands.
Kano felt a pulse of fear deep enough to give him vertigo. He slowly tilted his head and gazed at the sky, vast and blue as always. There had to be tens of thousands of people in Shibuya right now. Rumi and Shizuo were among them. And they might all be dead within the day. It felt so unreal. Kano's mind almost couldn't process it. With an effort of will, he shook himself out of his daze. Now, there was no time to waver.
We have to
We
try.
have to try.
Oh,
Wait, is it? Oh, sorry. It's you.
okay. We have to try.
He said.
Next 4 hours, we need to find Maria Osawa and figure out a way to stop this mastermind, the UA virus.
The words were as much for himself as they were for his companion.
Let's do this, Stanley. We might not always see eye to eye, but together, I feel like you and I can find a way.
But Stanley averted his gaze.
My job here is simply to apprehend the mastermind.
Kano felt a resurgence of his earlier anger at Stanley. Once again, he was putting his duties above human life.
I'm sorry.
Stanley's voice was a quiet mutter.
Should get away from Shibuya as soon as possible, Kano.
Kano hadn't imagined that the American would ever be worried for him.
I appreciate the warning.
He said.
I've seen this through, to the end.
This isn't the sort of thing you can solve with just an effort of willpower.
Even so, giving up isn't a Japanese detective way.
Stanley let out a nasal chuckle.
Back to that again, are we?
Same to you.
Kano managed a tiny chuckle of his own.
Listen,
Stanley went on after a moment.
this is just between you and me. The mastermind behind this kidnapping case is an arms dealer who goes by the name Alphard.
Alphard.
The attempted bioterrorist attack on Kasumi Gaseki, a hotel bombing in Chicago, Alphard had a hand in all of them.
What do you know about this criminal?
Kano asked. Stanley's expression grew even darker.
Alphard's signature is extremely meticulous planning. But I don't mean meticulous in the same way you or I might normally think of it. Their plans are perfectly imperfect. Do you get what I mean?
Kano shook his head.
Alphard deliberately engineers accidents to make things complicated and unpredictable. It's difficult to get a good grasp on what's going on, and the situation seems to be falling apart. People tend to not consider that coincidental mishaps might be anything but. In the end, they don't even realize they were playing right into the mastermind's hands all along.
Kano could hear the intensity in Stanley's voice.
I'm afraid that's all I can say.
Stanley held out his right hand.
Be around, Kano, if we're still alive.
If we're still alive.
Kano let that sink in for a moment.
Nah, I'll shake your hand. After we finish this case.
With a slight smile, Stanley withdrew his hand. Then the two bumped fists instead.
Alright, we'll meet again, Kano. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, see you then.
No sooner had Stanley departed than Kuze's voice came in over the wireless.
Attention all units. As of now, further investigation of the kidnapping case is suspended.
The director's voice sounded strangely cold.
I repeat. As of now, further investigation on the kidnapping case is suspended.
Wait, hold on. Sir?
Kano shouted.
What is it, Kano?
Can you let us know why?
We've received information that Maria Osawa has been infected with an unknown virus and has been released somewhere in Shibuya.
That matched up with what Stanley had said earlier.
An anti-bioterrorism security force will probably be deployed to Shibuya. This is no longer a simple kidnapping case. Our part in this is finished.
No, it's not. We haven't managed to resolve anything.
Kato, I assure you, everyone else feels the same way as you do.
Jules' voice had a cautionary tone.
They're still performing an autopsy and the body found in the blue minivan that exploded. I'll let you know once we have a positive ID. Kuze out.
Director!
But the line had already gone dead. Left at a loss, Kano gazed out at the cityscape. The sight of the bombed vehicle had calmed down briefly, but now that the news networks had begun reporting, the herd of onlookers was growing. There was also a sizable crowd gathered outside of a large home electronics store. The large LCD televisions on display were showing a press conference being held by the governor of Tokyo.